This is going to take me a while, I'm sorry. Just do me a favor, would you, and see what's in that note from Harold?
Dear Dan, some guy named Hoffman was by to look at the room. He liked it, due in no small part to the fine craftsmanship of the remodeling, no doubt, and said he'd be back later to talk about renting it. Seems like a nice kid, normal and well-adjusted, which would be a breath of fresh air around here. P.S. I tried to hang the painting of Elvis on velvet your neighbor Lois gave you for Christmas, but when I drove the nail into what I thought was a stud, I found the hot water feed to the second-floor bathroom instead. I'll be back later with my wet vac. In the meantime, the water's shut off. Double P.S. If you need to go to Merle's gas station and tell them Pat Summerall sent you. It's code. They'll give you a real toilet paper. Catch you later, man. Harold.
Boy, it's good to have Roy in town. Excuse me just a second. Hello?
Hello, hi. I'm Claudia Davis Hoffman.
Yes.
I got a message from my service to meet my husband, that is my ex-husband here, Frank Hoffman.
Hoffman, yeah. I had a note about him. He stopped by earlier to look at the room we're renting, and Harold said he'd be back later to talk about renting it. So, yeah, please come in.
Renting? Frank's renting a room here?
That's what the note said.
Oh, that's odd. He just moved into a terribly overpriced condo. Of course, since we got divorced, nothing he does surprises me. The cute blonde bimbo, the little red sports car, the hair follicle replacements.
Oh.
He's a walking advertisement for midlife crisis. It's rather pathetic when you think about it.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, no need to be sorry. He brought it on himself. A classic case. I tried to warn him. He had all the symptoms. You see, I'm a psychologist.
Oh.
A child psychologist, but actually, that's a plus when you're dealing with a man in midlife crisis. The dark side of 35 can be a grim time indeed for the male of the species, as I'm sure you're well aware of.
Well, I've only recently gone over to the dark side myself, so I really can't say yet. But I would... excuse me just a second. Yes?
Hello, I'm Frank Hoffman.
Oh, yeah. You're here about renting the room. Good, I'm expecting you. Come on in.
Wait, renting? No, actually, I had a... Oh, hello, Claudia.
Hello, Frank. I got your message. I wish you'd given me more notice that you wanted to meet. I had to cancel my last appointment.
Oh.
The Claxton boy. You know, the one with the fetish?
Uh-huh.
So, you're leaving your condo already and moving in here? Was this your idea, or was it Lolita's?
It's Loretta, and I'm not moving anywhere. I got a message to meet you here. Now, this isn't a good night for me. This is my mahjong night. We're going into the semifinals, for God's sake. You know that.
Mahjong, for
Wait
crying
a second,
out
wait
loud.
a second. Didn't you come by this afternoon and look at the room and then say that you'd come by later to talk about renting it?
I was in court all day. I'm a lawyer. I'm working on a divorce case. An ugly divorce case. You know, the bitter, self-centered wife trying to suck the poor husband dry. It's a common story.
Careful, Frank. Your passive-aggressive pathology is showing.
You know, I'm not sure what happened. I mean, Harold must have mixed everything up somehow. Yet somebody came by today to look at the room. Excuse me, just a second. Pardon me. Yes?
Nathan.
Nathan?
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Are you Mr. Rowles?
Rowles. Yeah, come on in.
I'm Maid Hoffman. Harold said to talk to you. I'm here about renting the room.
Renting a room? What are you talking about, dear?
I'm going to rent a room here at the first house on the right. Isn't it neat?
But, honey, you have a room. At my house, a great big room with all your books and toys.
And you've got your room at my house, too, Sport, with even more books and even better toys.
So why in the world would you want to rent a room here, of all places?
Well, remember when you guys got divorced and you said I could live anywhere I wanted?
Well, of course, dear, but we meant you could live either with me or, if you felt the need, with your father. It's important at your age for you to begin making choices, to exert some control over your life, to feel a sense of ownership and develop a private power base.
Yeah. What's the matter, Sport? Don't you like the system we worked out? You know, one fun week with me and then a week with your mom and then another great week with me?
No, that's fine. I like being with both of you. I'm just getting kind of tired of moving back and forth all the time.
Well, what's the alternative, dear?
I'm going to live here.
Well, that's great, son, but don't you think you're a little young to be living away from your parents?
Don't talk down to him, Frank. He's a person. Your son is a person.
I know damn well he's a person, Claudia, but sometimes you forget he's a 10-year-old person.
Oh, well, if that isn't the most ageist remark.
Ageist? What's that?
Actually, Nate, I do have sort of an informal age requirement at the house. You're 10?
Well, yeah, but I'll be 11 in 5.5 months.
I'm sorry, Nate, but you got to be at least 13 to rent here. I've tried renting to younger kids. Believe me, it's just not worth the trouble. What with, the drawing on the walls and the Legos on the floor and revving the big wheels at all hours of the night. I've got to take my other tenants into consideration.
But I won't be living here alone. My mom and dad will be living with me.
Honey, we've talked about this before. Your daddy and I aren't getting back together, ever.
Oh, I know, but I've got it all figured out. First, Mom lives with me here for a week, then Dad's here for a week, then Mom again, just like we're doing now, except I won't have to keep moving back and forth.
Well, honey, that won't work.
Well, sure it will. Remember that article you wrote for Psychology today about divorced kids needing a stable environment in order to nurture the psychic wounds of separation?
Well, yes.
Well, this would be a great place to nurture psychic wounds. It's got a backyard and everything.
Honey, I don't like you reading Mommy's articles. It gives you an unfair advantage over the other kids.
Yeah, look, Nate, it's a swell idea, but your mom's right. It's just not doable, pal.
Well, why not?
Well, it would be very inconvenient for Mommy and Daddy to have to live in two places.
Oh, you mean like having 2 sets of toys, and 2 sets of clothes, and 2 sets of friends?
Oh, yeah, that's what Daddy means. And then what am I supposed to do with Loretta?
Perhaps you can find a babysitter.
That's low, Claudia, very low.
Frank, we need to talk about this alone, in private. Honey, why don't you go outside and play for a couple of minutes so that your daddy and I can talk?
Yeah, if you want to, Nate, you can play with Lolo. Lolo, you want to go outside and play, girl? Yeah.
Great, come on, Lolo.
Just keep her in the yard. Watch your step. So long.
Well, this is an interesting development, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll make a wonderful article for you someday.
Let's not argue in front of this gentleman. It's Dan,
That's
isn't
right.
it?
Yeah.
Dan, Frank and I need to talk this over. This may seem like an odd question, but is that a band over there?
Yeah, that's not an odd question at all. That's the First House Band.
Oh, how nice. Look, you don't suppose they could play something while Frank and I discuss this?
Well, sure. As a matter of fact, they were just about to do that. Steve Barnett and the First House Band, Sacco, a song by Julian Cannonball Adderley.
I know.
I know. I suppose if there's a parent at the house and the kid's living here and one of his parents is here, it'll be okay. But I don't want him to think I'm not any good with kids or anything, These two are making me nervous. So, have you two reached any sort of decision then?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Clearly, Nathan is making a desperate cry for help with his outrageous plan to live here. However, to subjugate his autonomy at this point could deal a serious blow to his already fragile self-image, what with the damage he's already suffered from the disintegration of our marriage. So I feel, in the long run, it would be best to acquiesce.
Oh, which means?
Well, which means we're your standard guilt-ridden divorced parents doing what we do best. We're giving in. We'll move him in the first part of next week. Now, what sort of references will you need?
Is that your red Porsche out front?
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably all I'll need then.
Wait a minute. You did get references from your other tenants, didn't you?
Of course. What do you think I'm running here? Some kind of a flop house? No, in fact, one of my current tenants came with a personal reference from a former president of these United States.
What is he, a deposed dictator?
No, a wrestling promoter.
And that's supposed to reassure me?
Well, he's really a pretty... Oh, hey, Lolo. Come on in, girl.
Mom, Dad, Uncle Wally just taught me the Algerian sleeper, a death grip so deadly that 9 out of 10 opponents never, ever walk again. He's totally rad.
An Algerian what?
Look, come on, son. Let's go home and pack. We're moving into the first house on the right.
Oh, wow, great.
I'll come by tomorrow to discuss terms.
That'll be fine.
Now, Nathan, old pal, old buddy, what would you rather do? Go back to your mom's house and practice your violin and go to bed, or come to my house, eat ice cream, and watch Batman again?
Frank, you are pathological.
Oh, and I suppose that you spent a small fortune on Nintendo for some other reason besides assuaging your guilt-ridden ego.
Yes, it was to develop hand-to-eye coordination, if you
Oh.
must know.
Come on, you guys, let's get going. I'll see you next week, Dan.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna like living here.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be an interesting experience for us too, Nate. Welcome aboard, and we'll see you next week.
See you, Dan. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Frank, I let you off easy, but if I had it to do all over again...
Blow it out your PhD, Claudia.